Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different.
Hmm.
Usually we're looking at a new technology, a historical event, or maybe a business trend. But today, we're looking at the invisible architecture of your daily life.
That's a big topic.
It is. We're talking about reality. Specifically, how the words we use, and maybe more importantly, the words used on us, don't just describe the world, they actually shape it.
It's a heavy concept to start with, but you're absolutely right. Language isn't just a neutral tool for exchanging data.
Right.
It is a force. It shapes perception, it defines power dynamics, and as we're going to explore today, it can be a highly effective mechanism for control.
And we have a stack of really fascinating sources today, psychological papers, communication theory, even some negotiation analysis. And they all seem to converge on this concept called covert linguistic manipulation.
It sounds very dramatic.
It does, like something out of a Cold War spy novel. But the reality is this is happening in our open plan offices, our living rooms, our most intimate relationship.
Everywhere.
Our mission today is to, well, decode the mechanics of this. We want to show you the wires behind the puppet show.
And the operative word there really is covert. We aren't talking about shouting matches or insults or, direct orders. Overt manipulation is pretty easy to spot.
Sure. If someone screams, do this or you're fired or I hate you, you know exactly where you stand.
Exactly. You can defend against it because the aggression is visible.
Like a frontal assault, you put your shield up, you know you're in a fight.
But covert manipulation, it operates beneath the conscious surface. It creates this strange, dissonant mismatch between what is being said,
Which often sounds polite, professional, even caring.
and what is being felt, which is usually confusion, guilt, or self-doubt. It just bypasses your logical defenses because the words themselves seem so harmless.
I think everyone listening has had that exact feeling.
Yeah.
You walk away from a conversation wondering, wait, why do I feel like the bad guy here? I'm the one who was hurt, but I somehow just apologized. Or you leave a meeting feeling like you agreed to something you didn't want to do, but you can't pinpoint where you said yes.
That is the signal, that confusion, that fog, that's the hallmark of the technique. It's not an accident, it's the design.
So here is the roadmap for today. We're going to unpack 3 specific mechanics that our sources highlight, basically the 3 magic tricks of this manipulation. First, pronoun inversion, the shell game of responsibility. Second, maladapted empathy, which I think is the most insidious one because it weaponizes nice words.
It really does.
And third, linguistic misdirection, how people hide behind passive voice and abstractions.
It sounds technical, but I promise you, once you hear these examples, you are going to see them everywhere.
You won't be able to unhear them.
No, you won't.
I'm already sweating thinking of a few emails I sent last week. So let's jump right in. Core concept number 1, pronoun inversion. It sounds like a grammar lesson, but the sources argue it's actually a power move.
It is. It's a sophisticated linguistic technique. Essentially, the speaker shifts the subject or object of a sentence.
Swapping an I for a you or a we.
Exactly. To alter the meaning and, critically, the responsibility. It's a way of moving the spotlight off themselves and onto you, or diffusing it entirely.
Okay, let's look at the we trap. The sources called this disguised demands. This is huge in corporate settings.
Oh, but in families, too. It's a classic. Picture a standard workplace scenario. A manager comes up to your desk and says, "We really need this report finished by Friday."
Which, on the surface, sounds great, right? It sounds inclusive. It sounds like, hey, we're a team. We're in the trenches together.
Yes. It appeals to your desire to be a good collaborator.
But that's the trap.
That is the trap. It creates a false sense of shared responsibility. But let's run it through a translation filter. What does it actually mean in practice?
It means you need to complete this report.
100%. By using we, the speaker masks a direct order.
And it makes it socially awkward to push back.
Yeah.
If I say I can't do it, I'm not just refusing a task from a boss.
You're letting the team down.
I'm breaking the social contract.
It weaponizes your desire to be cooperative. It disguises a demand as a collective effort. If they said, "I need you to do this," you could say, "I have no capacity." But when it's, "We need this," refusing feels like a betrayal.
So it basically suppresses your ability to negotiate.
Completely. Because you aren't negotiating with a person, you're negotiating with the concept of the team.
That is sneaky. But there's another side to this, the inverted accusation. This is where the pronouns flip to put you on the defensive immediately.
This is very common in personal conflict. It's the subtle difference between saying, "I'm not explaining myself well,"
Versus, you're not listening to me.
Yes.
I feel the difference viscerally just hearing you say it. I'm not explaining myself well. Takes ownership. It's vulnerable.
It admits a gap in your own performance.
But you're not listening to me is an attack.
And often, manipulators will use a version that sounds soft but does the same heavy lifting. They might say something like, I'm not feeling heard right now.
Wait, but I thought I statements were good. Therapy always says use I statements.
Sure, and they can be. Context is everything.
So I feel is supposed to be the safe way to communicate.
And on the surface, I'm not feeling heard is an I statement. But look at the implication beneath it.
Okay.
If I am not being heard, what are you doing?
You're failing to listen.
Right. It projects the speaker's communication failure onto the listener's behavior. It's an accusation dressed up as vulnerability.
And immediately, my brain scrambles. I'm not thinking about the topic anymore. I'm thinking, no, I am listening. I'm a good listener. I care about what you say.
You're defending your character.
Yes.
And that is the goal. It puts the listener on the defensive. The focus shifts from the speaker's inability to communicate clearly to the listener's supposed failure to receive the message. You are now arguing about your listening skills, not the original issue.
And the manipulator has successfully changed the subject without you even noticing.
That's the move.
There was one more tactic here that stood out to me. Third-person projection. This is when someone talks about you like you aren't standing right there.
Yes, or uses distancing language. Instead of saying you aren't understanding the situation, they might say, he isn't understanding the situation, even while looking right at you.
Or like the team isn't aligning when they mean you aren't agreeing with me.
Exactly.
It feels cold. It feels clinical, like I'm a bug under a microscope.
It is cold. It creates emotional distance. It turns the listener into an object of discussion, a problem to be solved, rather than a participant.
So it establishes a hierarchy.
It does. It signals, I am the observer, you are the subject. They're above the fray, and you're the issue.
Okay, let's unpack the next layer. And this one, I think, is going to hit home for a lot of listeners. Core concept number 2, maladapted empathy.
This is a really critical distinction our sources make. We have to separate genuine empathy from maladapted empathy.
What's the difference?
Well, genuine empathy involves recognizing feelings, acknowledging responsibility, truly reflecting the other person's state. It's about connection.
And maladapted.
Maladapted empathy mimics the language of empathy. It uses all the right buzzwords.
Yeah.
But the intent isn't to connect, it's to manage.
Manage the situation. Or you.
Right.
The sources call this the I feel shield. And I thought this was fascinating because, again, we're conditioned to think talking about feelings is always a positive thing.
But here, the sources say manipulators use I statements to center themselves. Let's look at a common example. I feel bad that you're upset.
That sounds nice, doesn't it? I feel bad. It sounds like they care.
It mimics sympathy, but break it down. Who is the subject? I. What is the focus? My bad feeling. It creates a subtle shift. Instead of validating your pain like saying, I understand why you're upset, which keeps the focus on you, it centers the speaker's discomfort with your emotion.
So it really becomes about them. It's like they're saying, I'm uncomfortable that you're having feelings right now.
Yes. It superficially acknowledges the emotion, but it avoids true validation. It's a way of saying, your emotions are burdening me, not your emotions are valid.
So you end up comforting them for feeling bad about you being upset.
You do. It's wild when you think about it.
And that leads right into what the text calls performative empathy. This is the classic non-apology apology.
The infamous, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Oof. Just hearing that makes my blood pressure spike. It's the customer service line of personal relationships.
And it should be irritating. If we analyze that phrase, what is actually being apologized for?
Nothing.
Nothing. It's a facade of an apology. It sounds like one because the word sorry is in there, but implicitly it blames the listener for their reaction.
It's saying the problem isn't what I did, the problem is your emotional reaction to it.
Correct. It avoids taking responsibility for the action that caused the hurt. Compare that to, I'm sorry for what I did.
That's accountability.
That is accountability. I'm sorry you feel that way. It's accountability avoidance masked as kindness. It essentially says, I'm sorry you're so unreasonable.
It gaslights you into thinking your reaction is the error. Wow. There's another level to this, emotional hijacking. This is where they don't just avoid responsibility, they steal the stage.
The example here is, I get that you're angry, but I'm hurt too.
It's the but. The but that erases everything that came before it.
It is the but. It redirects the conversation immediately back to the manipulator's feelings. It overshadows your experience.
So you bring up a grievance, and suddenly you're comforting them because they are hurt that you were angry.
That is the worst.
You start the conversation needing an apology, and you ended apologizing to them for making them feel bad about what they did to you. You walk away thinking, how did that happen?
That is the hallmark of emotional hijacking. It turns the victim into the offender. It exploits your empathy to silence your grievance.
Okay, we've covered pronouns and fake empathy. Now let's talk about the fog. Core concept 3, linguistic misdirection. Hiding in the abstract.
This is defined as saying one thing but meaning another, or using language to obscure who is actually doing what. And the heavy hitter here is the passive voice defense.
Mistakes were made.
The classic political non-apology, but it happens in relationships all the time. The report wasn't finished, dishes were left in the sink.
Money was spent. It's like a ghost did it. The dishes were left. By whom? The dish fairy.
Passive voice removes the agent, the doer, from the sentence. It creates plausible deniability. It shifts the focus to an abstract event, the mistake, rather than a person's error. If I say, I made a mistake, I am vulnerable, I'm accountable.
Right.
If I say mistakes were made, I'm just an observer of reality, I'm just reporting the news.
It's a way to state a fact without taking the blame for the fact. It disconnects the action from the actor.
And closely related to this are abstract generalizations. This is where someone says, one might feel upset in such a situation instead of, you seem upset.
Who says one might feel? It sounds like a textbook from the 19th century.
It creates detachment. It treats feelings as theoretical or general truths rather than addressing the specific emotional state of the person right in front of them.
It's intellectualizing an emotional moment.
Exactly. It forces the conversation up into the head so we don't have to deal with the heart.
And the sources mention plausible deniability as the ultimate goal here.
Right. Because these tools give the speaker an out. If you confront them, if you say, why are you telling me how I should feel? They can say, I didn't say you were wrong, I was speaking generally.
I was just talking about how one might feel.
It makes you look like you're overreacting.
Paranoid, even.
Why
are you taking everything so personally?
Even though they meant it personally. It traps you in a loop where you know what they meant, but you can't prove it based on the literal words they used.
So we have all these mechanics. Pronoun flips, fake empathy, passive voice. The big question is, why? Why do people do this? Are they all just Machiavellian villains?
Not necessarily, and I think it's important not to demonize everyone who uses these patterns because we all slip into them sometimes.
That's a good point.
The psychology behind it points to a few motivations. One is definitely control. Using confusion to maintain the upper hand. If you're confused, you're less likely to challenge me.
Confusion breeds compliance. If I don't understand the rules of the game, I can't win, so I'll just follow along.
But often it comes from fear and shame. Avoiding accountability is a way to escape guilt. If I can say mistakes were made, I don't have to feel the shame of being the one who messed up.
It's a defense mechanism, the ego trying to protect itself from being bad.
And there's also emotional regulation. Some people just can't handle feeling vulnerable. They can't sit with your pain. So using maladapted empathy allows them to manage the impression of being a good person.
Look, I said I was sorry.
Without actually doing the hard work of engaging with your pain, they prioritize their comfort over the connection.
The sources also make an interesting point about conscious versus unconscious usage.
Yes. While some people do this intentionally to manipulate gaslighters, narcissists, many do it unconsciously.
Right.
It can be an ingrained habit. It can even be cultural.
What do you mean?
Some cultures or family dynamics value indirectness to maintain harmony. They might not realize they're being manipulative. They think they're just being polite or avoiding conflict.
But regardless of the intent, the impact on the listener is real. And the sources call this the fog.
The emotional aftermath is profound. The primary feeling is confusion. It's that mismatch we talked about. The words sound nice, but the intent feels bad.
Your brain hears an apology, but your gut feels a dismissal.
Cognitive dissonance. And that leads to self-doubt.
To gaslighting.
Exactly. You start questioning your own sanity. Am I overreacting? Maybe I am being too sensitive. Because the manipulator is so calm and using such reasonable language, you feel like the crazy one.
You start to trust their version of reality over your own.
And defensiveness. You feel the need to justify yourself constantly. And finally, feeling unheard.
That's the result of maladapted empathy. You feel placated, patted on the head, but not understood.
You feel lonely in the presence of another person.
This is where the text was really empowering. It said that feeling drained, confused, or defensive after a conversation is a valid data point.
Absolutely. That is your internal radar. We so often ignore our gut because the other person's words make sense.
Right. Well, they said they wanted to help.
But if you walk away from a conversation feeling like you just walked through a maze, that feeling is information. It signals that covert manipulation might be at play. Your body is reacting to the subtext.
So we know what it is, we know why they do it, we know how it feels. Now, the most important part, how do we protect ourselves?
The first strategy is seeking clarity, the direct question technique. The goal here is to cut through the ambiguity.
You have to force them to be specific.
And own their meaning.
So let's role play this. If someone uses the "we trap, we need this done," what do I say?
You stop the momentum and ask, are you saying that I need to do this? You force them to clarify the agent.
Okay. What if they say, "I'm not feeling heard"?
You can ask, it sounds like you're frustrated with me, is that correct?
I love that. You're stripping away the camouflage. You aren't being aggressive. You are just asking for precision.
Exactly. You are removing the plausible deniability. You are forcing them to step out from behind the passive voice.
Strategy 2 is the translation filter. This is a mental exercise.
This is for your own sanity. You don't even have to say this out loud. When you hear mistakes were made, you mentally translate it to someone doesn't want to admit they messed up.
When you hear, "I'm sorry you feel that way," translate it to, "They're not taking responsibility and they're blaming me."
It stops you from internalizing it. It creates a buffer. It keeps you grounded in reality.
Strategy 3 is assertive boundaries.
This means using your own genuine I statements. I feel unheard when you say, we need to improve communication without specifying what needs improvement.
You're calling out the vagueness. You're saying, "I will not engage with the fog. I need specifics."
You're refusing to play the game on their terms.
And finally, strategy 4, trust your instincts.
This goes back to the internal radar. If the nonverbal cues, the rolling eyes, the dismissive tone, don't match the empathetic words, trust the nonverbals.
Trust your gut.
If it feels manipulative, it probably is. Your body often knows the truth before your brain has time to analyze the grammar.
This has been such an eye-opener. To recap the journey, we moved from the "we trap" of pronoun inversion
The shell game.
through the fake connection of maladapted empathy, the "I'm sorry you feel that way" trap, and finally, the hiding spots of linguistic misdirection.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the so what here is that awareness is the ultimate shield. By spotting these patterns, you stop internalizing the blame.
You stop thinking, "What is wrong with me?"
And you start seeing the dynamic for what it is. You can see the strings being pulled.
It changes the whole game. Instead of getting sucked into the fog, you can step back and observe it. You become an anthropologist of your own conversations.
Oh, look, there's a passive voice defense.
Right. Instead of getting angry.
That's a great way to put it. You get your agency back. You realize that you aren't crazy. You're just being managed. And once you know that, you can choose how to respond.
We want to leave you with a final provocative thought from this deep dive. We've talked a lot about spotting this in others. It's easy to see the villain in the boss or the partner. But here's the challenge. Reflect on genuine communication. If covert manipulation is about hiding and shifting blame, true connection is about vulnerability and directness.
So the question is, observe your own language this week. Are there times you say, I'm sorry you feel that way, just to end a conflict? Are there times you use we when you mean you because you're afraid to ask for what you need? We all do it. The path to better relationships isn't just about catching others. It's about cleaning up our own side of the street.
And that true power lies in the courage to be direct.
That's the bottom line.
A little homework for us all. Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.